Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor. Today is Saturday, so again, we're going to have a What's Sold on eBay today, random items selected. But before we go into that, I just want to call out another reminder here. Tuesday, October 30th, will be a live show at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's going to be in a Halloween haul, along with a giveaway for some original artwork. This piece of artwork that I will give away will be your choice. You'll have 3 to choose from, and they're actually pieces of artwork that I created in watercolors for one of my postcards that we actually sell. I'll probably throw in one of the postcards as well with that freebie, so you can see the finished production item as well too. But that's what I have again. There will still be a Thursday live show, as always at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. But we're going to go over the screen and I'm going to show you some items that we sold. Okay, so this time I've thrown in records and some other things in here. I tried to pick a more diverse amount of items and things. First one here is an old jazz record. This is Harry McClaskey. You kind of got to know some of the labels. I can't tell you a specific label or a specific person that you're always going to get, other than, you know, a few that I've already mentioned. Glenn Miller in the Mood, obviously. You can't go wrong with that one no matter what. I always get, like, geez, even a bad copy with like a rim chip or something, it's like $35. So, you know, that one's a given, and I find that all the time. But there's some on Paramount that are worth a ton of money. And for the most part, you know, even like a Harry McAllister, they're not worth a ton. He's not a huge, well-known person. It's going to take the right person on any of these. So a lot of these will be long tail. But, you know, as a general rule, I have $1 into them. So if, you know, I sell a couple a day, out of that, you know, I'm more than paying for everything. And, you know, usually it's well more than a couple a day. But anyway, let's go on. $27.60 on that one. I put some on sale. Some I can go by, you know, when they were listed, and, you know, I look at that too, because you throw a price out there, you hope to get the high price, and then if you don't, you stagger it down, just like a department store does. It's the same philosophy. A department store will start something off, say at $100, then it'll be out for, you know, maybe half a season, you know, a 2-month, you know, 2-quarter section, and then they mark it down the next quarter like 33% or whatever the case may be, and then the last quarter, usually the 4th, so they're on sale, then they might mark it down 1/3, and sometimes they'd blow it out after that if it sits on clearance. So anyway, that's what we kind of do. I use the same philosophy I would use in like a retail establishment, because if you're running a business, it's basically a retail establishment. Any store you got, it's basically retail. It all works the same way. You can judge your business model on some of this, but you're always looking to get the highest amount. So don't start them off low and, you know, expect to make a lot of more, or, you know, a large amount off of each item. So anyway, I sold a bunch of these as always. $20 or more a piece on all of them. This is in the transportation, military, aviation section under collectibles. Same with this one, another $20. This one's a gentleman who's bought, I don't know how many from us. He's probably spent $500-600 on these at $20 or more a piece in the last couple months. And I've got another guy who bought, I'll show you a little while, that bought, he buys a couple a month on average. Usually like every other week he'll buy a couple. It's probably his pay period, or, you know, when he has extra money. So you've got to take that into consideration. You've got to know your clientele to some extent on, you know, what they're going to be able to invest in buying stuff from you. So that helps somewhat too when you're pricing. I know I've given out a lot of things on pricing, but there's a lot to it. It's a complex thing that you just have to eventually get. Everybody can do it, you know, and price perfectly, you know, and get the right price and not let stuff go, not let them go too cheap. Or, you know, when you throw out cheaper prices, you're going to get cheaper prices. I mean, there's just no way around it, you know. And if you're starting off a sale at 99 cents, that's crazy. You know, you've got to start any sale off with at least enough that you would be happy with, because you're giving away money then. Because if it goes for 99 cents with fees and the cost of the item, and then if, you know, shipping wise, you're out, you know, it's just not worth it. So none of that's worth my time. We have a benchmark, $7 or more at least we would like to get, because, you know, we have people that list for us, so it's not a horrendous problem if, you know, we're only getting $7. Now, if it was my personal time to sit there and list all of these, maybe it wouldn't be that low. But, you know, when you've got employees, it's a different story. I mean, anyway, let's move on here. This is under the religious section. This is a rosary, $15. You know, you never know what these things go for. I find them quite often. So I have a plethora of rosaries. So, you know, I'm not really worried. I buy the ones that are marked Italy. Those would be the number ones that I would say, or anything sterling, or any that have crystal, rock crystal, actual crystal, quartz crystal beads. Those are the ones I look for. Or carved, hand-carved ones, too. Some from Jerusalem are worth some money, too. But anyway, and there's some German ones. There's even some Japanese ones. So, you know, you just got to pay attention to them and know your ages on some of these. You know, I grew up in a religious household, so, you know, we went to church and, you know, I had my own pair of rosary beads. I was an altar boy, believe it or not. And, you know, so I have some connection with these type of materials, so I know where they show up. You know, I know good sources for these. So, you know, I don't think any day of the week I would have less than 25 of these up. You know, at least 25 rosaries. I've got a stack here now. I think I've shown some. We got a bunch of sterling ones the other day, all knotted together, and, you know, I got them at a real good price because the guy didn't want to mess with unknotting them, so it was stuck, and there was no guarantee they'd come apart. But I don't remember if I showed them in a haul, but anyway, that's the kind of thing that I look for. Now, here's the Strangers. Now, this is a Spanish Latin one. You just have to know some of these too. On the foreign ones, most people pass them by. Now this one's unpunched. The center disc, the 3-prong center there's 4 prongs of these two, but this is a 3-prong. It's an earlier one. That could be punched out to be played on like our style, the U.S. style turntables. Now a typical British disc is solid with the small, large size record center hole. Just FYI if you didn't know. So a lot of the promos don't have the punch out. But this is the Strangers. It's a soul Latin. A lot of these will have the English translation if it's a English song. So you just have to pay a little attention to it. But anyway, I got $50 out of it. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. This one I think I showed too. This is like a local company. I paid $1 or $2 for this thing. You know, it came with a letter and it's got an autograph. I don't know if it's his or not. You know, they had secretaries and stuff that did it too. But $18.50. I didn't expect a ton, but as I said, I only got $1 or something into it. So anyway, that was in Collectibles advertising section too. Record-wise are always under the records, the vinyl, and then you do the genre, which almost exclusively lately is jazz in my area. That one was Latin, but, you know, pick a genre and put that in there too. I always list that if it's a 45, that it's a 7-inch single, non-import. If it's an import, I do click the import add-ons. 78, obviously a 10-inch single. An LP would just be an LP, long-playing record. So just pay attention. Now, Sinatra sells too, and I've sell them all the time. I've showed many. I think I got like $12 or something out of this one here. Again, this one was probably 50 cents or less because I bought a ton of big band not too long ago, and this was in there. And I sold quite a few of them actually in the $10 to say $20 range. It's 2 pictures. You know, it's real quick. You throw them down, take a picture. Throw it down, take a picture. You know, there's nothing to it. It's quick to list. You know, you can cross-list them just as easily because there's no separate photo needed. This photo will work on all the sites because it's a white background. The object is more than 80% of the image, so that fits Amazon's and Discogs as well too. So anyway, let's move on here. That was a jazz, as I said. These vintage Bionicles, my kids collected Bionicles. These aren't from them. I don't remember where we got these. I think a big luggage or a big Lego lot. But these usually sell pieces, parts, whatever the case may be. We sell the big ones too, where kids have, geez, like 500 pounds or more of Legos. No exaggeration. They probably got every Lego set from like 92, 92 or 93 up. They got all the Batmans and every Star Wars one that they made. And we went to a place called Dirt Cheap, and you could get them like 10 cents on the dollar if the box was damaged or something. So we bought them, tons of them. One year they got like 32 sets apiece, and we didn't spend very much money on it, mind you. This is a southern chain when we lived down in the south. Dirt Cheap, though, we used to go there all the time. You could have lived off that place for a reseller because they got new stuff. It was mostly new damaged returns. Where their sources were, I don't know, but it was someplace local national company chains and stuff. But anyway, $27.60. I've just put some stuff on sale. I'm trying to clear out some stuff because I've got a ton, that we're been listing like mad lately. We're getting up like, I think 226 a day on average this past week is what we did, and new listings up. So anyway, 226, that is the total, I do believe. Now here's these I took 30 on. One of the tails is broken on them, but that's still a nice vintage 50s, early 60s at the latest. So anyway, I've had them up for a little while, shoot high, and then, whatever happens, happens. That's what I look at it. I got like $2 into the lot. Maybe not even that, because I bought them in a big bag lot. This came from Savers, believe it or not. This was on the bag. This is one of the last items I got from Savers. I think I showed it in a haul, maybe. But anyway, I've got more of these right now. Because these show up all the time. People don't realize the difference between the old dinosaurs and the new dinosaurs. So that's why I can always do well in these. So anyway. Now, I showed this in a haul, I'm sure. We took $24.50 on it. I think, this is one of the ones with the lost photos, unfortunately. But again, I didn't mess with them. If somebody asked, they asked, and otherwise I send them out. Yeah, there's a risk that they might not be happy with the way it looks, but this thing looks as good right here as it does everywhere else on it. There's no issues whatsoever. Anybody who knows what roly-poly is going to be very happy with this. My kids had roly-poly-oly, so I've watched the episodes with the kids, when they were infants. So, it's a vintage show. I know the show. Anybody who wants roly-poly-oly is going to be happy. You got to know some of the material, obviously, but I've got kids, so for those of you without kids, you know a little more if you have kids. And I'm not trying to brag or say everybody should have kids or nothing. Don't take me wrong, but we associate with kid stuffs too because we had them around the house. So I'm just meaning that you're missing some other things that other people might know just because they have that experience or whatever the case may be. Like if you've worked in the food industry like me, I know food items. So when, industrial items and industrial auctions show up, I'm able to go in and I can buy the lighting. I can buy, buffet servers and warmers and, griddles and ovens and parts for all of those. I always buy the igniters and all of that stuff when I see them. Because we always make a lot of money on those, like an igniter for an industrial stove, like a Vulcan or something. You might get, you might be able to get them for $4 or $5 at a nice auction, and those are something I can get like $70 out of used. So, just keep that in mind. Some of those items sell. I buy a lot of them. I buy the cup retractable holders and things like that for the counter displays. I buy all that chrome counter pieces and accessories, copper, or not copper, the chrome shelving, all that stuff sells. I can find a market for that real easily. So that's one of my other niches that I don't talk too much about. But I've worked in foods for 20 years, so I have the knowledge, and I actually have contacts in the food industry where we used to order products from. So I have some contacts that can get me discontinued and discounted items that are leftovers in their inventory that I can then market. And I've got some deals where I don't have to purchase up front and things like that too, and I take a commission off of selling some items. And there's just so many other areas that you can do, but you got to have some knowledge. But anyway, let's move on here. That was the Disney section as well too, under collectibles. Another jazz record. This is a 1920 Scroll Victor. This is the High Hatters Jazz. I can't remember. There's somebody in the High Hatters that's well known, but Johnny Marvin sings Rock Candy Mountain and things like that. So, you've got to know at least, again, some people. Red Hot and Blue Rhythm. This is a fairly well-known piece from like a stage play / maybe something along that line, but that's what it's from. I've heard this played. So, and the other side's Warring's Pennsylvanians. It's Warring's Pennsylvanians are known too, but the issue on this record is the High Hatters. That's what sold this record. So again, a quick, I think we got $30 total out of that one. It was in good condition too, so it was a nice one. But again, Scroll Victor because of the scrolls you see around the edge. That's what it's actually called to a collector. Terminology helps too, so you know what to ask for if you're in a collection or somewhere. But anyway, did sell this one for $30. It's a little dirty. It needs a little cleaning. Nothing unfixable. Now, like the plastic up there, that's just some residue or something. It should clean up very nicely. I clean up most items. This one slipped by me. I personally listed it and made the decision. It's already there. We've already done everything. Let's just list it and go from there. Because these are hit and miss. So I took it down from $37.50. I took 30 out of it, and these average 15 to 20, 24 bucks, I think was the highest I saw one go for prior to this one. So, you just have to have yours on at the right time. There's not a rhyme and reason to some items, but when there's other items of similar ones up, they don't sell as easily because there's quantity and people can henpeck them apart. But when you end up being the only one up, by leaving them up, you are going to sell it. So anyway, I haven't had this one that long. I showed it in a haul like a month or two ago. I think we listed some electronics like 60 days ago or so. Another one of these. Now, this guy buys from me, too. It's not the same gentleman who bought the first two. I sell these quite often. Not just these two, but quite a few other ones. These jet ones seem to be hot for some reason. One person has been buying them. He's saying he's saving up, going to give them to his father, who was a jet fighter pilot. So, price-wise, I think we took 30 on this one, if I'm not mistaken. This one we put in the military section and Korean War. The other ones, we can rotate them. I'll put like half. If I've got 100 or 200 of these I'm putting up in one day, 100 of them will go in the military section by the year, whether Korean War or, post-Korean War. Or the other half will go in the transportation section, aircrafts, and then military aircraft. So that way you get double exposure without paying for double listings. You put in the description that you have many more of these up as well. So if person's only looking in like, say, the military section, they'll be looking at the other ones through your store, so you don't have to worry about listing them in both. Or if they're looking in the aircraft section under Collectibles Transportation, they'll be able to look in the military section through your store by wanting to find the other photos of this you have. People that collect these and they buy multiples, many of them. Some collectors want hundreds, and I've seen collections and I've bought collections where people have had thousands, even tens of thousands of photos in their collection. So there are some people that collect a lot. When we first listed some movie and television related ones from CBS a while ago, we had sold like $2,200. I don't remember how many. It's been a while. The very first week we put them up to one person. I thought this guy, he's not going to pay. There's no way. This is when I first started selling photos a while ago, mind you, years. And he bought so many. He came back and bought like $1,800 more after he got the first batch. And then he's steadily bought from us since. So, these things sell all the time. Don't be skittish on them, but don't pay more than $1 or so a piece because a bunch are going to sit there. So anyway. That one's, as I said, $30 range. Let me move on here. Edison, this is under records. There's a section you can click for specifics. I think it's under cylinder, it says. But this is Edison cylinder. Now, I sell these quite often. This would never be an item I would ever list as an auction. We've done it, many times, even for test runs and stuff. I sell them better across the board. You might get one at auction that sells higher, out of these, because they're so scarce ones that, there's only people with, saved searches for very few of these ever. So, what we just do is I throw them up at a reasonable price. If there's one that I know is rare, then I'll put that one really high. And, sure enough, we get an offer and that one sells right away every time. So it's just not worth me doing it. And if you set the price, there's no price to compare these two. You're not going to find a price to compare almost any of these two, other than, maybe a half a dozen that you could possibly run into. So they're very scarce for the real rare ones, but the rest of them are common as can be. So we average, this one went for $14.99. So we average anywhere from, say, $14.99. I don't think I've ever sold one less than that, unless we sold them in a big bulk lot, which I don't even do anymore. And then we've sold up to the highest range in the like $80 or $90 range. I've sold these. So none of these are super sellers, but when you can buy a lot and end up with like 33 cents a piece into each of these cylinders, or even at $1 a piece, or even we'll even risk, $1.40 or $1.50 if I know there's a couple good ones in the lot that should get my money back. So just keep that in mind. These perfectly fit in one of the eBay standard freebie boxes that we get. So I never even worry about what I have to ship these things in either. So anyway, I sold a couple this week of these. Again, I don't sell these every day of the week, but I sell 2 or 3 a week. So, just kind of give you a ballpark figure. So if 3 a week would be, $45 in sales at 33 cents or average, max, let's say $1 even. So we sell $45 worth. I've got $3 into them at most, and then my fees. They pay shipping, so I'm not out anything on shipping. And what I charge, I don't give the discount out for my shipping, so I get enough to cover the boxes and the packing supplies as well, too. So I'm not out that either. So, and it covers my eBay fees for the shipping part. So anyway, it's mostly profit, like 80% profit on these. So $14.99, I'm taking 80% of that home on most of my items I'm showing you. Or more. That one was probably more, but anyway. I buy these all the time. Now, these are something you're going to find at estate sales and auctions, because I buy them like mad lately. I've got 3,000 or 4,000, and I'm not exaggerating. Maybe I'll show if enough people comment and are interested. 3,000 or 4,000 labels. Now, they're modern ones. I don't really care if they're modern or not. They're going to be long tail items. So be careful on some of these. If you think you're going to make a ton of money, you've got to figure in, if you're paying 25 cents, 35 cents for a listing fee for these, you're going to, not be able to sustain that model because of the cost per item. But we pay 5 cents or less for each listing because of our store and all that. So, I'm not worried about a 5-center, because we can do 20 labels for $1 over that. And you can lower them too, as we've said about with having multiple anchor stores, because then you're not paying the overage fee. You're paying less than 5 cents. It's like 4 cents or something it figures out to. Plus you're getting the boxes, but I could really care less about the boxes. This one sold for, actually it did sell for $17.50. But again, I sell these quite often. I get, I don't know, a couple hundred of these a week lately. And as I said, I got 3,000 close to it probably just the other day. So, I've just got stacks of these. And you'll run into people that'll just throw these in boxes and have them at their house. They've saved them for years, 50 years ago. Not anymore these days, but, so I have these. This is from the 60s. This is probably, I think, a sample. I was lucky enough to get a salesman lot in here, too, that were samples from the actual company that had never been on a bottle. Those are what you look for. And back in the day, you could send a letter to a company, and they would send you a label if you included a self-addressed stamped envelope, and sometimes even if you didn't. So, that's how these show up, the sample ones. You could literally just ask for them. That goes for the beer ones, that goes for the soda ones. I've many times found a letter with them in there. Even the travel luggage labels. That's how people collected those back then in the 50s and 60s. They'd send a letter to these people. That was what you did. So that's literally how most of these come in existence in people's collections. Just FYI, I doubt many people knew that. That one went in the alcohol section of collectibles, and there is a section for labels and paper. This one was shown in a hall. Color-wise, it was so hard to get it. This was off of a scanner. But it gives a real good representation of it. I sold it for $200 the very day it went up. Now, it wasn't discounted. I don't know why it's showing it like it's on sale now. But anyway, this one sold for $200 right off the bat. I took an offer. Who knows what it's worth? It's not technically a cover. It's just a receipt. So it's iffy on the actual value on this. I know they've got good value. And I've already made like $678 or somewhere in that range off of this investment on some paper that I got. But it's just a paper receipt. And here's a paper menu. This one went for $275. Both of these sold within the same day, within 2 or 3 hours of them being up, to different people, mind you, too. Not the same person, even. This one's from Shanghai, Nanking Road area. You've got to know something. I mean, I guess I researched stuff. I took a Japanese history class, and we covered, China and such forth with the intertwining history. And I also took a spiritualism and religion class, and it covered folklore and fables. And I know some of these areas because they're covered in some of these. I know some of the routines and the things, and I'm not trying to, add that information there for any other reason. Just you got to learn stuff. I can't express that enough. If you really want to be into this and make the money, you have to really be into it. You've got to like what you're doing. You have to like and enjoy the historical aspects of the items that you find. So, and you're better at describing them. You're better at knowing why it's collectible, why you should buy it, why it's going to sell. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. But this one went in the travel section under China, and that's in collectibles. And so did the other receipt. They both went in the travel section in collectibles. Now this is a catalog, I'm sorry. Now, I don't know what they're worth. I just throw some price out there. It's got some odd ones. This is late mid-century. If this was 60s, I could have probably got 125 for it. 50s for sure. But this is 71. It's, it was up for, geez, maybe 6 months, maybe not that long, but somewhere in that range. I just took a $30 offer. There's none of them that showed up. Comps wise, 15, 20 bucks for most of these lighting. It's lighting. If it was something unique or different, yeah. None of the light craft of California are items that sell very well. Sandusky Electric, it's not very well known either. It's from just an Ohio town. This was sold to somebody who was from Sandusky, from what I understand. So anyway, no big deal. I paid $1 for it. So, and then, 6 months of listing. So, you've got 5 times 6. So, it's 30 cents in listing. They paid shipping as well, and covered the shipping fees. So anyway, this one did sell for $14.99. I picked up a stack of these. Now, some of this kind of stuff you'll find in stacks or a case of these, like at an auction, So when I buy those two, I'll just put up one at a time. I'm never in a hurry because one of these, this paid for the entire lot I bought. So, you pay $5-10 for a case. You only sell one, you make your money back. So the rest are just blowouts, Who cares what you get? Well, I mean, you care what you get, but, anyway. Now, I picked up some of these locally. I actually have a tablet of these that you just yank them off. It's like a gummed edge tablet. So, and I did sell this one for $14.50. I paid $2 for the tablet of these. And this was at a sale, an estate sale, mind you. They didn't think much of it. It was missing the cover of it. They said, it's incomplete. It didn't have all of them even in it. So I didn't care. I was going to sell them individually from the start. So anyway, $14.50. And this one went under the transportation section. And there's or advertising. Advertising, I think I put this one in. Yeah, this was advertising because Shortways is a transportation company. So anyway. But I put it in advertising because it's advertising for transportation. Just let me straighten that up there. Now this is under the train, railroad section, collectibles, transportation, so. And I think I had $8.50 out of this one here. Now, you may not think, hey, $8.50, but I bought a bucket of these on many occasions. Now, if you go to estate sales or auctions, people usually just throw all these pencils in a huge bucket, and you get them in a big bulk or bag lot. So when I buy them every time, and usually I'll pull out some $50, $60 pencils, railroad pencils out of it, or transportation or advertising for like a radio station or something, or a gas station or oil company. So, I look for these, and these are unused. I find tons of these. At one time, I had like over 1,000 of these pencils. I'm down to less than 100, honestly. So, just FYI, they do sell. It's going to be, long tail on most of them. You'll sell enough to pay for them right off the bat, but then after that, it's long tail. $14.50, as I said. Again, jazz record. This one I put in jazz. He's a Irish singer. He does a lot of Killarney and things like that. Me Lassie and things. Keep the Home Fires Burning, though, was a World War I patriotic song. Anybody who studies the history of it's going to see that right off the bat. And I had 4 of these, and I think I got 1 left now. There's nothing on the back. It's a one-sider. It's plain. I think there's a sticker or something maybe on it, because they usually had an embedded sticker, not really sticker, but a piece of paper embedded into the vinyl that would never come off. But anyway, and I did sell this one for $27.80. These go for like $15, $25 range constantly. So, I'm fine with what I sold it for. I sold it over the top end, and that's about the range I sold most of them in, for $20 to $25 range. This one a little higher, but it's closer to the holiday, so things do sell a little higher. And I did, as I said, put it in jazz, and you always want to add World War I, Till the Boys Come Home, or something like that. I think it says on it. Till the Boys Come Home, yeah. So anyway, this one I know, it's one I always pick up. It's a one-sided record. Not many on this reddish, burgundy-ish, I guess a little bit, Batwing. Now, this is a Batwing label. The top 2 pieces look like a Batwing, or the arches above the dog's head, Victor's head. That's the Batwing part of it. And that's why they call these a Batwing. But the color of the label dictates the kind of music, if you didn't know that. So a black label is usually what you want. But there are some, and now just on this label, the color is just on this label. RCA Victor did that even when 45s came out. You'll find colored ones that are like aqua, like a turquoise, almost bluish. Those are country western. The red ones are like classical. That's just how they separated them, so you could always tell. And that's when they issued the very first 45s ever made in press. They were in multicolored by the genre it was. That color meant that it was a specific genre. So anyway, I studied on some of this, so I try to know my stuff to the best of my ability. It, again, helps you be able to purchase properly. So, if you're not willing to invest hours into researching and studying some of these items, you're not going to do as well. I can just tell you that for fact. Especially records. If you don't have the ability to, you're going to spend almost as much time doing research as you would be looking for the records to know. Your goal is to be able to go to a record place and not have to look up hardly any, because you'll save yourself a ton of time and you can get to so many more picks and get the right ones and not waste your time buying junk lots and stuff. So anyway, this came with a postcard, this next one. This is a temperance, that you're not going to drink beer and cider, which cider was like a whiskey, not really necessarily a whiskey, but a fermented alcohol. Wine, beer, and cider. But anyway, this one went to someone from England. They paid full price for it, plus $14.50 to ship it. And I have 3 or 4 of these. There's still one up. I'll put another one up after the second one sells, until they're gone. So, and this is the Anti-Saloon League. Again, we learned this about in I took an American history class. And you learn a little bit of it out in some of the government classes, just to touch on it with some of the laws and prohibition, things like that. So anyway, know some of the history of what the atmosphere was at the time and things like that. So, again, research is key. People that tell me they don't do as well, or they're not selling this or not selling that, I've talked to enough people, for those of you who've watched the channel for a little while, I talk to people a lot lately, not as much as I'd like to, because, my time is getting more and more limited, the more and more stuff I get up and the more stuff we got going, but, I'm still true to my core. I want to, help people, and most of the time people, tell me they don't know this, they don't know that, they haven't looked that up, they haven't figured that out yet. And they're wondering why their sales aren't going, or they keep getting the wrong items, or, the titles are horrid, or whatever the case may be, without spending a lot of time in the beginning researching it, you're going to be losing a little bit. You're not going to be gaining as quick as you would like. So you got to go in full force, 110%. Otherwise, you're just not going to, succeed as well as you would like. You're not going to see the action, the ground shift on you when you're not investing the proper time. Any business that starts off spends 10 times as much energy and effort as they would like to get it going. But once it's going, you've got the base there, or even if you have hiccups in the road or down times or anything else, you've got enough coming in and enough items and enough knowledge to float over those hard times. So, just keep that in mind. Next item here. That one was listed in, I think I did that one in alcohol as well, too. This is Postcard, California, real picture postcard. I think the final total was $17.50 we received on it. And it's something well done. Is this one of the ones with the missing backs? Yep, see, I sell them even with the missing backs. I didn't want to spend too much time. We've had a bunch of them like that, but, I honestly don't worry, because I've probably showed you dozens of them without, with the backs, because it was all on that one day. Anything that relisted on that one day when that glitch happened in June, this happened to. Every one of them. It was one day within like an hour or two, anything that relisted, and unfortunately we had a bunch, because we've got so many up that, I had hundreds that this happened to, we found since, the issue. I'm still not upset about it, so anyway. You live and you learn and you move on. This one's $17.50 I took out of this one. It's got a little damage on the side. Not terrible. You can see the damage. It's there. It's listed. Age-related wear and such forth. And as you said, you can see it in the image. I believe this person already got it as well, too. But anyway, postcards, as I said. I tried to not show as many of the paper items this week, because I keep having questions on, what you sell and stuff, other items. And I almost did a video without any other things in it, but, other than, hard goods. But, I true to my core, I'm a paper guy, so, I can't avoid paper and talking about it. So anyway, last item coming up is paper. This gentleman bought several from Statesboro, Georgia. I think about every one I had from Statesboro, Georgia, which were quite a few, I think. And I sold them for $15 a piece. As I said, I throw some price out there. You're going to sell a bunch at the first price you put up. So let's say these average, you looking up comps, and this one went in the advertising section. There is a label section, so that's where this went. And let's say you you see them selling for $8-10 on average, hundreds of them, or whatever the case may be. You've seen comps, and you don't know what to put them up for. I would put them up for at least 3 times that. It gives you playroom, it gives you markdown room. Just put them up and leave them. You're going to sell some at that full price just because they've never seen them before and they don't want to take a chance on losing them to somebody else. So, and then you go down from there. You mark them down, you discount them. I've got a bottom line. I won't take usually less than, say, 14 or 15 bucks on any of them. If somebody bought 50 of them, I might consider a little less, but I doubt it. Because I do sell them, almost daily on still to this day. And I keep getting them in. So, and at first I was worried on even listing these when I first got them because they're hit and miss and they seem to be low. But, I played a scheme that said, hey, not a scheme, I should say, but I played a thought on this and said, let me list them up 3 or 4 times, what I see them going for, and see if I can't make some leverage. Just because I had so many varieties and oddball cities. It's the city that sells them. It's not necessarily this roller skating label. It'll be somebody from that town that maybe remembers it. There wasn't a lot to do, so roller skating back at some point in the history, was a big, huge thing that was, maybe 20% of the population went to a roller skating rink. Maybe a little even more than that. When I was younger, even in the 70s and early 80s, people still went to the roller skating rink. A lot of times you went and met somebody there and you took off, but, your girlfriend or whatever the case may be. But anyway, that's what I have for you today. So hopefully that gives you some ideas and some thoughts. Well, there you go. There's some more items we sold. It's just to touch on them again. A small percentage from the one store that we do share with you. And again, I just try to pick some just random pull items. I've been trying to throw some more records and some other things. I obviously sell more paper than anything, but we do sell a ton of other stuff. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you liked the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content. Subscribe and tell a friend.